Everyone. Welcome to Kiki and Kibbitz. It's Mary, and I'm here with this week's edition of 90 Days and 900 Seconds, The Other Way, Season 4, Episode 10. One hand does not clap. And I tested this theory. One hand does not clap. If I was going to give this episode a grade, I would give it a solid C. And once again, that is only because of Isabel and Gabe, Isabel's parents, Osama's poem, and Miss Debbie. And in honor of Miss Debbie, I bought myself from Amazon my very own Peacock fan. So when we get to her segment, I will be using my Peacock fan in honor of Miss Debbie. So I'm going to set 900 seconds on the timer. And let's hop right into the silliness. Because especially with this first couple, it's silliness. Okay. Nicole and Mahoon. All right, first of all, what was up with her outfit? She looked like she was getting ready to go out and deliver newspapers or something. So Nicole has been in Egypt for about 4 months now, and she's bored. She needs a hobby because all she does is sit in her bedroom all day long with Mahoon's mother, sitting out there, and she's bored. So she has found an all women's yoga class because Mahoon is not having it with her being in, a mixed gender class. He is not having it with his woman stretching in front of other men. So she found this all woman yoga class, and she finds a BFF. Naran. Naran is a very liberal, we should say, Egyptian woman. Okay. So this is the BFF that Nicole has been waiting for. And TLC did really good on this one, okay? Because Nicole has been miserable all this time, and she miraculously finds this yoga class, and this chick tells her everything that she wants to hear. There's a promised land in Egypt that Nicole never knew about. It's called New Cairo, okay? And in New Cairo, women could drink, they could dance, they could wear whatever they want. And Nicole's eyes light up. But Ron also tells her that there's a little problem with Egyptian men. And Mahoon sounds like the typical Egyptian man. When they meet you, they love you so much. They think you're fantastic. They think you're a superstar. They love you for who you are. But then, they want to change you. And they want you to be the typical, Egyptian woman, modest, all covered up, and they just try to stifle you. And, Naran's like, maybe you should have studied up. I mean, you could even see her like laughing at Nicole. So Nicole and Mahoon go out on a date night. Okay, so they're gonna go to this cafe to eat hummus, and it's not like what we think hummus is. Their version of hummus is whole chickpeas and like a lemony type broth. Nicole says it's really good. That's fantastic. It looked like they were eating on the overpass of a highway. That was my problem. Okay, so Nicole brings up that she, met this chick, and she was telling this chick about her relationship with him. Mahoon has a problem with that. See, Nicole has to understand. Paging Nicole, you are not in America. Mahoon doesn't understand this whole thing of meeting somebody for the first time and telling them your whole life story. Things don't work that way in Egypt. So he was totally thrown off by this. Okay, so poof, the walls go up. So then Nicole suggests that they meet. And Mahoon's already, he's not liking this, but he agrees. So first of all, she walks in and she's wearing a dress that exposes her arms and her legs. And I knew immediately from there that was it. I knew Mahoon was going to shut down just from seeing what she was wearing. Even though he said that he didn't have a problem for what Naram was wearing because she's not his wife. As long as his wife wasn't exposing skin, he didn't care. But I knew immediately from the minute that she walked in and I saw her arms and her legs were exposed, I'm like, this is not going to go well. So basically, and I saw a tweet that summed this up the best. Mahoon's brother didn't properly prepare him to deal with Naran. And Naran was like, listen, I'm not Nicole, bitch. Okay. The Quran didn't say this. The Quran didn't say that. And she was just like clap back after clap back after clap back. And Mahoon just didn't. He was just like looking at her. And his confessional said it all. She is the worst woman I ever met. And she said, what did she say? He's a follower. He's a follower. And that just describes it all. Okay. The two of them are never going to get on the same page. Mahoon is not going to want Nicole to be her friend. And it's going to cause drama. And somehow, you know, the heated conversation that Mahoon and Naran was having, Mahoon turns to Nicole and is like, I love you, sweetie. I love you, honey. I love you, sweetie. So I don't know how he went from aggressive to I love you, sweetie. I love you, honey in 0.2 seconds, but he did. So I don't know. Moving on to Rishi and Jen, who's another one. I don't get this shit at all. Jen flies all the way out to India to confront him about the inappropriate messages and picture that Rishi sent to her friend Randy. Girl, I would have done that shit over a FaceTime. Why waste the money on a plane ticket? If you don't like the answer, you have to get back on the plane and come home. Like, come on. Okay, so Rishi is watching belly dancers, drinking beer, and smoking hookah with his friend Natish, his friend slash astrologer, Natish. And Natish was the one that told Jen and Rishi to wait before telling Rishi's parents, you know, to wait a little longer. So, you know, even Natish is like, you know, I've done this for a long time, and this is going to be a struggle for you, bro. Are you sure you really want to do this? And Rishi's like, yes, I'm sure, and blah, 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 blah. So Jen arrives, and Rishi did good with the apartment this time. Remember the first time around, he couldn't even bother to like get her toilet paper. Well, this time there was air conditioning. The kitchen was great. The bathroom was great. There was even blankets. So he, you know, did good this time around with the apartment. So she's like, I have to stay in the moment and I have to confront him on the inappropriate messages and the inappropriate picture that he sent to Randy. So now it's spa day. He takes her to a spa and they're going to do like this aromatherapy oil treatment thing. And he takes his shirt off. First of all, there was another tweet that I saw that showed the picture that he sent Randy where he's all buff and whatever. And when he was shirtless in the spa. And it was that wish thing, you know, what I ordered and what I received, because that picture that he sent Randy and what he actually looked like in the spa, yeah, what I ordered and what I actually received. But Jen was like getting all tempted and hot and bothered, and she was getting ready to like give him the milk for free. But she had to stay focused. So she asks him about the picture, and he lies straight to her face. Lies straight to her face. And she's borderline. She's getting ready to smack the shit out of him. She is all over the place with this relationship. And this is where we leave off. He's shirtless in the spa, lying straight to her face. And she is just borderline, don't know what the fuck to do. I would be packing my shit and getting on a plane. But hey, I don't know. So moving on to a couple that gives me hope. Gabe and Isabel. So Isabel's dad requests that Gabe meets him in the park to work for a little workout time. So he wanted to ask a couple of questions, just again, clear in his head why Gabe, felt the need to transition, what was going on in his head, and Gabe explained to him that every day that he was a female, he hated himself so much. He wanted to die. That he would go to sleep and wish that he would wake up as a boy. Then he put together a photo album on his phone and showed Isabel's dad what he looked like as a girl. So Isabel's dad got, a full comprehension of what was going on in Gabe's head. And, this made me teary-eyed because I really did not like how they were trying to say religious people were judgmental, and the whole how he was fearful of rejection because of his past experiences with religious people being judgmental. And Isabel's parents have been the most non-judgmental. They are very religious from what they have been portrayed on the show by Isabel herself, and hear from their own mouths. And I want them to be my parents. So that's all I have to say. So he asks Isabel's dad for permission. He says yes, of course. And then he proposes to Isabel. And he's like reading his proposal, from his phone. And, he's not fluent in Spanish yet. And he gets halfway through it and she's like crying and she kisses him. And it's just an emotional scene. And I'm crying. And yes, I love these two. But unfortunately, we see next week Gabe kind of he has to deal with the legalities of getting married. And we see he's talking to, I guess, like at the clerk's office to get the marriage license. And they need his birth certificate to indicate that he's a male. And his birth certificate indicates that he's a female. So we're going to see, all the stuff with the legalities of it. So it's not all roses and unicorns and, peachy sunshine. So we'll see, what's up with that next week. Now, speaking of not all roses and unicorns and peachy sunshine, we have Jamie and Chris. So after a couple of months of being in Colombia, Chris is having problems with her bank account. She keeps having these like fraud thingies going on, and her bank keeps freezing her funds. So her and Jamie decide that they're gonna go take a look at food trucks, and that'll provide some income, So first of all, they have no concept of a menu. They just, they're gonna serve Venezuelan and American food. And they really don't have a menu plan. They don't have any ideas, but they're just gonna go look at food trucks. The first truck costs about 10,000. The second one, the one that they really want, the zombie school bus that has tables inside and the full, grill and whatever, 20,000. Now I have a question. Chris, who has debilitating back and neck pain, wants to run a food truck, cooking behind a grill, standing behind a grill. How is that supposed to work? Just asking for a friend. So now, JB's like in love with this zombie bus thing. And Chris is like, we have to figure out this and, how much it's going to cost the food and operating expenses and whatever. And Chris is starting to realize that her fairy tale in Colombia It's costing her big bucks. Okay. So next thing we know, she has to go back to the States because she just realized that they don't have her narcolepsy medication in Colombia. Girl, I think that would have been the first fucking thing I would have checked before I got my ass on a flight to Colombia to move to good. I'm epileptic. That would have been the first thing on my checklist. Do they have my epilepsy medicine that I could get on a regular basis refilled in the country that I am moving to and marrying someone and living in for the rest of my life? That would have been number one on my checklist. So I call bullshit, Chris. You need to get your painkillers. So anyway, Chris, has been bedridden for most of the time that she's been in Colombia, mind you. Okay, bedridden in pain most of the time, is now getting back on a plane to go back to Alabama because number one, she just realized that they don't have her narcolepsy medication in Colombia, and she needs to go to the bank and deal with all this fraud stuff, and you know, they keep freezing her account, so she has to go to the bank. She has to fly all the way back to Alabama and go to the bank. I call bullshit. So now, moving on, and I need my Peacock fan because just talking about Chris makes me hot. Debbie and Osama. So Debbie is weak at the knees and she's hot, and for good reason, because Osama reads a poem at a public poetry reading, guys. Oh my goodness. And Debbie, she is hot, and for good reason. She feels weak at the knees. The poem is called I Think of You. He said, this is dedicated to my fiance, Debbie, and she feels claimed and loved by Osama. This wipes out all the rocky beginning. She, she has faith in him again. She certainly feels young again. I mean, she may need her fan for her hot flashes, but she feels young again. So this was a refreshment that she's needed. She's been dying of thirst, and she feels drunk. She doesn't need alcohol. She doesn't need alcohol, y'all. Osama is her alcohol. Okay? Osama makes her feel drunk. Osama's words, his poetry, his love makes her feel drunk. He's never done anything like this before. He's never gone up in front of a crowd and read poetry and professed his love. But for Debbie, he did it. He did it. So I love these two. And I hope that, it doesn't turn into a shit show. I have a feeling it might, but anyway. So now moving on to the last couple that is a shit show. We have Danielle and Johan. Danielle, who doesn't understand why Johan is so upset that he won't allow her to hang out with a male friend who happens to be an ex. See, Johan doesn't have a problem with Danielle having male friends, hanging out with male friends. He'll go and he'll hang out with them. But this particular one is an ex, and Johan doesn't like it. And this is another case of understanding the culture. This is the Dominican Republic. Dominican men, they have this machismo thing. Okay, Danielle, you can act like that you don't understand it and you don't like it, but you married a Dominican man and they have this machismo thing. Okay, and he's not going to sit there across from your ex and have dinner And from what we see next week, you want him to have dinner with him the day before your birthday. His birthday, I'm sorry, the day before Johan's birthday. That is adding insult to injury. The way that you speak to him is condescending, and now you're asking him to meet somebody that you had already had sex with. Okay, this is all Johan is thinking, that you have already had sex with this man, and you want him to sit across the table and have a conversation with him. No, it doesn't work that way. You should know that Latino men, Dominican men in general, machismo does not work that way. Okay? Sorry, Danielle. It just doesn't. So Johan's like, if you go out to dinner with him, there will be consequences. And she's like, what consequences? I don't understand what you're saying. And he's like, there will be consequences. Danielle, read the room. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's culture. It's just read the room. Read the room. So, and another thing I want to say is she would not like it if he was doing this shit. If he just turned around and said, hey, my love, my ex-girlfriend is in town. You know, I banged her a couple of years ago, but it was, you know, we're just friends now. She just hit me up on Instagram. I want you to go out to dinner. Come on. I only banged her a few times. It's no big deal. Let's go out to dinner. Would she like it? Hells no. And I don't want to hear it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching me. Please subscribe if you don't already. Please hit that like button. Please check out my online publication, wordonthestreetreality.com, for all the tea for 90 Day Fiancé and Love After Lockup if you like that kind of stuff as well. Please share my video with a friend or 10. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.